Hello and welcome to the news. In our headlines this half hour, movers and shakers in the Gambia's tourism industry set their sights on a fruitful 2015-2016 season. Almost a year since the Ebola outbreak in few sub-regional countries sent ripples across the world. Value addition of goods and services gains prominence at a conclave for over 100 trained entrepreneurs in Mansa-Konko Lower River region. French, British, and German foreign ministers met last night to devise a plan seeking to end the Syrian civil war, but the role of Russia in the factional conflict proves a major sticking point for the European powers. And Swiss authorities opened criminal investigations against FIFA President Sepp Blatter, as UEFA chief Michel Platini also faces interrogation for allegedly receiving over $2 million in disloyalty fees from Mr. Blatter. Well, those are your headlines with me, WINFRED NICOL. Thanks for joining us once again. Many pilgrims have performed their second part of Jamra as early as 6:30 this morning. They are now poised for the third and final part early Saturday at 3 a.m. before they proceed to Makkah for the final and farewell tawaf of the Kaaba. According to officials, the first flight of Gambian pilgrims would leave from the airport Saturday night. Our reporter Mama J will give us more update on the fate of the few missing Gambian pilgrims as she seeks clear information on their status from the Gambian authorities. Celebrations marking Eid al-Adha or Tobaski usually last for 2 days here in the Gambia, characterized by the preparation of sumptuous dishes, exchange of pleasantries and benevolence towards one another. Well, a day after the slaughtering of sacrificial rams, our H.N. Silva went out and about to see how the faithful have been observing the Tobaski.
The Muslim feast of Eid al-Adha comes every year, and during this very important event in the Islamic calendar, an estimated 1.5 billion Muslims the world over perform their spiritual obligation to God and exchange pleasantries in addition to showing benevolence to one another. Like other feasts, this year's Eid, also known on the home front as Tobaski, is also another memorable one to many Muslim faithfuls.
It's a great day on the Muslim calendar. Yesterday, definitely, I was very pleased to gather with my people, the inhabitants of Banjul, and the president, the first citizen of the country, that we share together and celebrate this occasion, which you know is a joyful occasion.
During yesterday's feast of Eid, tens of thousands of Muslims flocked to mosques across the country to perform the traditional Turaka congregational prayers, which were later followed by other religious injunctions like the slaughtering of sacrificial rams, which is central to the feast. Binta Jame Sidibe was part of that congregation of hundreds of thousands of Gambian Muslims who observed the Eid al-Adha with their loved ones.
Tobaski, as you know, it is celebrated by people going first and foremost to the mosque to pray with the imam, which I did with my husband and my children and grandchildren, and I praise God too that I've been able to be, God has blessed me with children and grandchildren and my husband to be able to celebrate together. As you know, in Gambia we have the wider extended family. I have some nieces here, cousins, sisters, and we all celebrated together. The first thing I do after performing the Eid, we travel to Banjul to visit my mother and ensure that she has slaughtered her ram.
She believes the feast, which is one of the most important festivities in the Muslim world, should always be celebrated with the idea of unity, caring and sharing on the home fronts.
Islam has not really changed our cultural values. So our cultural values, which I will talk about, is about peace, about unity, about caring, about sharing, about being the oneness of the people. So that is something that is even culture.
The executive director of the Women's Bureau and Mayor Laiba were not the only ones who had a blissful celebration yesterday. Like many others, the Minister of Trade, Regional Integration and Employment, Abdoulaye Diop, too, had an enjoyable day from the build-up to the feast until the sad news of that fatal stampede in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where more than 700 out of 2 million Muslim pilgrims lost their lives.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's a sad event, but everything happens, because it's destined to happen by Allah. We pray for all those people that have lost their life, that they rest in peace, and I do hope that the Saudi authorities will learn from whatever mistake caused the incident.
But Job was equally grateful to livestock dealers for the unprecedented availability of rams in the markets.
I think there is ample evidence that there was enough to the extent that, that competition forced prices down. And we have to also commend His Excellency the President. You heard in his statement that the government took very proactive and responsible decision under his leadership to waive all taxes and duties leading to the Tobaski for the livestock.
The trio profusely thanked the Gambian leader for the benevolence he manifested to less fortunate Muslims by selling his rams at prices so cheap and affordable to all and sundry.
The president has been able to make rams affordable for the average husband to be able to buy even 2 or 3, and then also to give us chance. People have been employed. We have our sons. Like for myself, my son bought my ram for me, and then bought for his father, and then for my mother. So that is also making it possible because he has built up the university and people are being educated and becoming, more affluent to be able to do that.
Just see what he have done. Over 2,000 grams we are at the July 22nd. With the cost of 7, the highest was $7,000. The one I bought before his ram was at the July 22nd, was about $8,000, $9,000. What a difference. I am praying for him, to be candid. I am praying for him. And I am quite sure that the people of Banjul will cooperate and rally behind him.
While most Muslims here in the Gambia bask in the glory of these festive occasions in the comfort of their homes, it is a different scenario for those that are bedridden in hospitals. Etienne Silva, GRTS News.
Population and development are very much intricate, such that one can hardly be discussed without talking about the other. In that light, Amadou Badian reflects on the salient issues highlighted by the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs during this year's World Population Day, including the challenges facing government when it comes to issues revolving around population matters, whilst opportunities for women and youth.
It hangs on the shoulders of governments to protect their citizenry in numerous facets, but this may even be more required of women and youth. And although the Gambia government has registered numerous gains in tranquilizing such, the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, Her Excellency Aja Dr. Aissatou Njie Seydi, recently disclosed that the Gambia is equally challenged with the protection of her vulnerable inhabitants, highlighting population increase among the stumbling blocks.
The Gambia, like any other developing country, continues, of course, to face challenges in its efforts to protect vulnerable populations in emergencies. Key among these include the increasing population rise and density in our country and the size of the population in summary, of our urban centers in particular and growth centers, impacting pressure on the land and other resources. This means that we must continue to provide more social services and amenities for the population. Increasing population density has forced many to settle in flood-prone and low-lying settlements.
When Her Excellency the Vice President gave that standpoint in relation to government's challenges in mitigating vulnerabilities of her populace, she quickly tabled the Presidency's efforts in protecting the country's youth folk and women in particular from unpleasant issues, among them human trafficking, domestic violence, as well as child sex tourism.
In addition, the government of the Gambia protects women and girls in a number of policies as well as legislation, notably the Women's Empowerment and Gender Policies and the Sexual and Domestic Violence Acts and the Child Sex Tourism Act, among others. Cognizant of the fact that women and girls, particularly women and children as a whole, are the ones often targeted by human traffickers, the government established the National Agency Against Trafficking in Persons under the Minister of Justice to serve as a watchdog against human trafficking.
The country's number 2 did not stop at that. Madam Jai said he went on with policies, charters and protocols which government is optimizing so as to meaningfully engage and better young people's lives. These, she added, are in place amidst forcing development bottlenecks.
In furtherance of its commitment to the welfare of young people, the government of the Gambia has signed charters, protocols, agreements globally that advance the agenda of providing comprehensive sexual and reproductive health and rights for all young people, improving, of course, their employability as well and productivity, and meaningfully engaging them at all levels of decision-making in society. In view of the emerging development challenges that we face, the Gambia government has placed women and children high on its development agenda in a number of policies and pronouncements, of course. Key among these were the development of a reproductive health, gender and population policies, and the introduction of free maternal care for pregnant women in all government health facilities.
Considering the Gambia's peace and stability alongside recognition of our food security endeavors, taking due consideration in the development and empowerment of the country's women and youth folk should be in continuity. Hence, this may be more than essential in the Gambia's aspirations of a moderate economic status in the nearing years. Modu Bajan reporting for GRTS News.
Value addition of goods and services was the subject of a conclave organized for over 100 trained entrepreneurs in the Lower River region. The forum, held at the Regional Education Directorate in Mansakonko, sought to create a platform where the participants can share experiences as committed businessmen in the industry. Babukar Kamara tells us more.
We have 100 candidates. Out of the 100, we have 40.
Before continuing their tour in the Lower River region, business experts and Empretec project officials visited the Chairman Seed Multiplication Center in North Bank region. Their mission is clear: entrepreneurship with value addition services along the agricultural value chain, a practice widely noticed by Empretec project.
This project is timely and is very important. As I said in my introductory remarks, entrepreneurship is as old as mankind, and it is through entrepreneurship that we can build the economic foundation of a nation. So this is very important.
The Days Forum in Lower River region brought together project entrepreneurs and their business advisors, seeking to share experiences on best practices. To many, the idea of becoming a millionaire may seem a far-fetched dream, but if their experience are yardsticks, there is hope.
This one-day forum have boosted my morals once more, because Empretec trained me in December. I signed a contract to myself that my establishment must be confirmed by June. And Alhamdulillah, by June, I'm well established, well recommended, and my promotions are going well, not only nationally but internationally.
The program is excellent, is good. We appreciate the knowledge gain, from the workshop. Together with the previous training from Empretec, we have vast knowledge about the training. We know that we'll have a significant benefit for us and for the rest of the community at large.
Empretec, as a project of hope with monitoring mechanisms quite new to many business outfits around the country, also has the aim of modifying behaviors for sustainable business growth and improving the lives of both the rural and urban poor.
We started the program barely about a year ago, and we had a target to train by this time about 300-400 entrepreneurs. And as of now, we have trained almost 700. But training is one thing, and application is quite another. So we thought within the program that it was important to come and meet with the entrepreneurs, get an update as to how they feel about the project, what successes they have registered, what challenges they face, and overall we have been quite impressed with the impact that the project has made on the lives of the entrepreneurs that have so far been trained, and they are basically, practicing what they have been taught in the entrepreneurship program.
Well, I'm very much happy that most of these people, both the boys and the girls and women, men, have been trained. And I think this will a lot of changes in this country in terms of, the economy of this region. Because most of them are embarked in useful ventures that will help them to employ themselves and at the same time to help the development of trade in this region.
Emprotech Regional Forum continues in the West Coast region.
Within this point, you can see the nurseries, some nurseries,
Babakar Kamara,
forestry nursery,
GRTS.
Ahead of what looks like a promising 2015-2016 tourism season, movers and shakers in the industry, including policymakers, have been recounting their experiences from the past season, when the all-important hospitality industry had to grapple with challenges triggered by the Ebola outbreak in a handful of countries in the sub-region. As Modu Bajan reports, the commonality among operators in the industry is a progressive 2015-2016, premised on such things like early arrivals.
The saying that birds don't fly when lightning and thunder strikes is not the case for Gambian tourism, which despite suffering hitches due to the sub-region's recent Ebola crisis, displayed its rigidity. The Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Tourism and Culture, Kodu Jabang, is among the endless, delightful and optimistic individuals ahead of a just-started tourist season.
Quite a lot of challenges were encountered last year. A lot of flight cancellations due to the Ebola epidemic that had hit the West African sub-region. We had obviously very low hotel occupancies, etc. But as I've said, the outlook is positive. We're optimistic.
In the words of tourism officials, the country's hospitality industry is continuously making headway, especially in the aftermath of the recent Ebola outbreak in the sub-region, and preparations, which did not overlook security, are in due course to do just that.
It's good for the Gambia in general. Actually, we have prepared, like I said, our museums are ready, our heritage sites are ready, Jufure Albreda is ready, the stone circles are ready. We are very much ready.
The Gambia emerged as one of the best tourist destinations when it comes to security, and having realized security need in terms of tourism, the Gambia Tourism Security Unit, we are fully prepared and readily equipped and await this moment.
Although the reasons for the industry's gains may not be far-fetched, Gambia Tourism Board's Marketing Director, Adam Anjay, dilates on some of the utilized mechanisms.
It ranges from joint marketing activities with our tour operators, and of course we also do some road shows, trade fairs of course, and one of the things that we strive at the moment is the e-marketing platform. I know for a fact Corendon, Sondios and most of the tour operators coming to Gambia, we're having something that we're doing together, ranging from outdoor and indoor marketing policies that we are putting in place. Everything that we are doing over the years is the same thing that we are actually replicating, but more on e-marketing platform.
Re-echoing the Gambia's tourism edge over competitors includes Mark Deslack, who tabled that it is not the only destination hit by the Ebola crisis, but efforts to reposition and even better arrival numbers is yielding fruit.
The Middle East and like Tunisia, Egypt, Greece, Turkey, they all suffer. We talk to tour operators in the Netherlands and convince them to sell the Gambia as a tourism destination. The Gambia is known as a very special destination for bird spotting. So with the National Bird Spot Association in the Netherlands, people come here to watch birds. And we invite celebrities, Dutch celebrities, to go and visit the Gambia.
The anticipated arrivals per week ranges between 24 to 27 flights per week. So yes, the season looks bright. The Nordics market is actually coming back. It's not actually new, but unfortunately because of the Ebola crisis, they cancelled their 2 flights last year. But they're coming back this season twice a week. And some of the new markets that we have in mind, of course, is the Russian market.
For a sector which is second to only agriculture regarding employment and GDP earnings, the likes of Omar Jallo and Anchasar, vendors at Bakau Craft Market, as well as tourist taxi driver Lamin Dibois, expressed cautious optimism about the future of Gambian tourism.
Last year we expected that the season will be one of the best, and it was announced that there's a sickness called Ebola. So by then, most of the people have already do their bookings, like the Scandinavians. At the end of the day, they have to cancel their flights. So it affects us a lot. This year, we're expecting the tourists.
Given the sector's significance, its movers and shakers again reiterated optimism of a promising tourist season as this year's first flight arrived earlier than usual.
Today we are very happy that Corendon has started for the first time in the history that Corendon is coming to the Gambia with bringing a flight so early in the season. And as a Dutch national, of course, I'm very proud that it's a Dutch airline that's coming here today.
After years of joint marketing campaign, the season now, as we stand for this year, we will be looking at minimum 24 flights, 27 flights per week last year. Hadn't been that Ebola struck. We were expecting 8-month season, but Ebola came, but that was the will of the Almighty this year. We are very optimistic that all the losses we have will begin in 2015, 2016. We hope that all Gambians will support the drive of government as well as the institution responsible with the private sector to drive tourism in this country.
As the tourist industry continues to tackle challenges such as the retrogressive effects of Ebola, inclusive participation is perhaps more needed than ever for continuously uplifting one of the country's most valuable industries.
I've heard that they're really friendly, and from what I've seen, they're really lively and happy, and they know how to make good music.
Modu Bajan, GRTS.
News from outside the Gambia is up next after this break. Welcome back. The French, British and German foreign ministers met last night to develop a plan to end Syria's civil war. But a suggestion from Angela Merkel that Bashar al-Assad should be part of the negotiations was met with skepticism. Now there is disagreement within her own government about one of the key players in the conflict, Russia. What role should Moscow play in ending Syria's factional conflict? This DW report tells us more.
Politics. What Vice-Chancellor Sigmar Gabriel announced in Berlin on Wednesday sounded like a turnaround on Germany's policy of sanctions against Russia. We need better relations with Russia, and everyone knows that you can't keep up permanent sanctions on the one hand, yet on the other expect cooperation. At the same time, about a mile away, the Foreign Ministry spokesman reassured the press that that's exactly what will not happen, giving up on Ukraine in order to get Russia on board for finding a solution on Syria. I cannot detect any sign among those who are dealing with the Ukraine portfolio that anyone is thinking along the lines of, let's give up on Ukraine and throw it to the Russian wolf, just so we can make some progress over Syria. I believe whoever suggests something like that is misassessing the situation.
Wer so etwas insinuiert oder behauptet, ich glaube, der verkennt die Lage.
Chancellor Merkel's announcement that defusing Syria could also mean once again sitting down at the table with Bashar al-Assad was widely understood. Her Vice-Chancellor's announcement that this could mean the end of sanctions against Russia is political dynamite.
Malala Yousafzai is known around the world as the girl shot by the Taliban for her defending their right to go to school. 3 years on, she is a prominent activist for women and children's rights, as well as a recipient of a Nobel Peace Prize. Now she is the subject of a new documentary she hopes will inspire more people to stand up to human rights. DW has the details.
There is a moment when you have to choose whether to be silent or to stand up.
For Malala Yousafzai, that moment came when a Taliban gunman boarded her school bus in Pakistan and asked for her by name. Her life up to that moment and her journey ever since is the subject of a documentary called He Named Me Malala.
The same as she was.
Director Davis Guggenheim focuses on Malala's private life and especially her Well,
it's interesting. In the headlines, you hear about the girl the girl who was shot on her school bus. But the story is much more deep and much more rich. It's about a family, and something very, very precious to them was taken away from them, their school. And there's a choice of a girl who said, "I'm going to speak out for what I believe," and a father who let her.
Guggenheim filmed Malala over a period of 18 months. She says the process took some getting used to.
In the beginning it was hard, as I had no idea how it would work, but Davis has done it so beautifully. The animation he has done, the way he has delivered the story of my father and how he stood up to say in society that women do have a name, they do have an identity. So after watching the film, it was so beautiful that it made me so happy that it can reach to many people and it can inspire many people to come and join us.
The film hits U.S. theaters next week. Malala also wants it to be shown in schools to inspire students to speak out against problems such as bullying and racism.
We have the sports news for you after this break. Welcome back. The Swiss Attorney General has opened criminal proceedings against FIFA President Sepp Blatter. He has already interrogated Blatter on suspicions of mismanagement and misappropriation. Swiss authorities today searched FIFA headquarters and his offices. Blatter is not alone. UEFA chief Michel Platini has also been in the alleged involvement. Blatter is suspected of making a so-called disloyal payment of 2 million Swiss francs to Platini at FIFA's expense. For more on that developing story, let's go with this analysis by DW.
It could very well be if these charges do stick, but I think it's important to remember that while he is cooperating with the investigation, he is very vigorously denying the charges. He issued a statement through his U.S. attorney today that no criminal mismanagement had taken place. And I want to get in a little bit into what the nature of these charges are. This disloyal payment, which is matching up to the misappropriation of funds charge that is standing before him. Paying Michel Platini 2 million Swiss francs is something that someone like Sepp Blatter might well do. Michel Platini is a very important figure in the world of soccer. But the nature of the payment seems to be a bit fishy, according to these investigators. Apparently, it is tied to some work, unspecified work as yet, that he performed, that Platini performed for FIFA between 1999 and 2002. He was not paid for this work until 2011. So I think that there is some suspicion that either he didn't do enough work to, deserve that princely sum, or perhaps the explanation of what he did and when he did it was just tacked on as something of an excuse to allow this payment to go through.
And what about some of the other allegations? Talk us through those.
Well, the other allegation, the Platini allegation is quite serious, and it also is quite serious for Platini. He's a cooperating witness so far, but it might taint his candidacy for the FIFA presidency, which he's going for. But the other allegation is also serious in that it ties Blatter to a guy who you really don't want to be tied to right now, which is Jack Warner. Jack Warner has just been announced that he's going to be extradited to the United States from his home country of Trinidad and Tobago. And Jack Warner is at the center of the U.S. probe. Basically the main witness in the U.S. probe is Chuck Blazer, who used to be involved with U.S. soccer, the same federation as Trinidad. And basically Warner and Blatter are known to have done a lot of fishy things with money in the 1990s and the 2000s. And if this charge that he sold the TV rights to the 2018 and the 2022 World Cups to CONCACAF, to Warner, at way under market value so that Warner could then turn a much higher profit, then that would be very serious indeed for Sepp Blatter.
And Matt, these are...
And before we go, a reminder of today's major stories. Movers and shakers in the Gambia's tourism industry are targeting a progressive 2015-2016 season, almost a year since the Ebola outbreak in few sub-regional countries sent ripples the world over. Value addition of goods and services has gained prominence at a conclave for over 100 trained entrepreneurs in Mansakonko, Lower River region. French, British, and German foreign ministers have met last night to devise a plan seeking to end the Syrian civil war. But the role of Russia in the factional conflict proved a major sticking point for the European powers. And Swiss authorities have opened criminal proceedings against FIFA President Sepp Blatter, as UEFA chief Michel Platini also faced interrogation for allegedly receiving over $2 million in disloyalty fees from Mr. Blatter. Well, that was all in this edition of the News at 10. From me, WINFRED, NICOL, and the entire news team, thanks for being there. Enjoy the rest of our programs.